You eat 3 meals a day. That means 3 times every single day, a 60-minute window opens. And 3 times every single day, most people waste it completely. Not the 60 minutes before eating, not the 60 minutes after waking up, the 60 minutes after every meal. This is the window where glucose is either sent to your muscles or stored as belly fat, where insulin either falls quickly or stays elevated for hours, where fat burning either resumes or stays blocked. 6 things you do in this window determine which outcome you get. Most people are doing all 6 of them wrong, every single day, 3 times a day. Stay with me because thing number 5 is the one nobody connects to fat storage. It happens entirely in your emotions, and it amplifies the insulin response of whatever you just ate. Drop a comment right now. What do you usually do in the hour after your biggest meal of the day? After every meal, insulin rises to clear glucose from your blood. This is normal. This is necessary. But insulin does not fall immediately. It stays elevated while glucose is being processed. The length of time insulin stays elevated is the variable that determines your belly fat. Short insulin elevation means fat burning resumes quickly. Extended insulin elevation means fat burning stays blocked, sometimes for hours, from a single meal. A study published in Diabetes Care found the following. Post-meal behavior in the 60 minutes after eating was significantly predictive of daily insulin exposure. Visceral fat accumulation over time was directly correlated with what happened in this window. Not just what was in the meal, what happened after it. 6 things in the post-meal window directly control how fast insulin falls. And the first one has the most dramatic effect of all 6. Thing number 1. Walking 10 minutes after eating. Watch naturally lean people after a meal. They move. Not to the gym, not for a run. They walk to get coffee. They stroll around the block. They do something small and easy that barely qualifies as exercise. And it changes everything that happens to the meal they just ate. Here is the mechanism. 10 minutes of walking activates GLUT4 transporters in your muscle cells. GLUT4 is a glucose transporter that works independently of insulin. When it activates, your muscles pull glucose directly from your bloodstream without insulin doing the work. Blood sugar drops. Insulin does not need to stay elevated to clear what your muscles already cleared. Fat burning resumes earlier. A study published in Sports Medicine found the following. A 10-minute walk after eating reduced post-meal blood glucose by 22%. The time insulin stayed elevated was measurably reduced compared to sitting after the same meal. David started walking for 10 minutes after lunch instead of going straight back to his desk. No other change. 3 weeks later, his afternoon energy had stabilized and his waist measurement had started moving. Fix. 10 minutes of gentle walking immediately after your main meals. Not before. Not an hour after. Immediately after. That timing is the entire mechanism. Now here is what most people do instead, and it adds 40 minutes of fat storage per meal. Thing number 2. Sitting completely still after eating meal ends. You sit back down. Completely still for the next hour or two. It feels natural. It feels like rest. Here is what complete stillness actually does to the meal you just ate. When your muscles have no demand for glucose, insulin must work alone to force it into cells. It takes longer. Insulin stays elevated longer, fat burning stays blocked longer. The same meal followed by complete stillness keeps insulin elevated significantly longer than the same meal followed by gentle movement. A study published in Diabetologia found the following. Prolonged sitting after meals extended post-meal insulin elevation by an average of 40 minutes, compared to light activity after the same meal. 40 extra minutes of fat burning blocked per meal. 3 meals a day. That is 120 extra minutes of blocked fat burning from sitting still. Every single day. Fix. Break the stillness after every meal. Does not need to be a walk. Stand while on a phone call. Walk to a colleague instead of messaging them. Do light tidying after dinner. Any movement that interrupts the complete stillness. The bar is low, the return is not. Now here is something that speeds up insulin clearance without any movement required at all. Thing number 3. Not drinking water after eating. Naturally, lean people tend to drink water during and after meals without thinking about it. No strategy, no tracking, just a natural habit of reaching for water alongside and after food. Here is why that habit matters biologically. Digestion requires water at multiple stages of the process. Adequate hydration after eating supports gastric emptying, the rate at which food moves from your stomach to your small intestine. When gastric emptying runs at the correct pace, glucose enters your bloodstream gradually. Insulin rises proportionally, falls efficiently, fat burning resumes on schedule. When you are dehydrated after a meal, gastric emptying slows. Glucose release extends. Insulin stays elevated longer than necessary. A study published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found the following. Adequate hydration after meals significantly improved gastric emptying rate. The duration of post-meal insulin elevation was reduced compared to the same meal without adequate fluid intake. Fix: a large glass of water in the 30 minutes after eating. Not during the meal necessarily. After it. That window matters. Water supporting digestion that is already underway. Now here is the least obvious thing on this list. Most people never connect it to insulin at all. Thing number 4. Staying indoors in artificial light after eating. You eat lunch at your desk under fluorescent lighting. You spend the post-meal hour under the same artificial light. Not a single moment of natural light. Here is what your circadian clock is doing during that entire time. Your hypothalamus uses light spectrum to calibrate when your cells should be most responsive to insulin. Natural light contains the full spectrum that signal requires. Artificial light does not. When you eat and remain entirely under artificial light, your circadian calibration drifts. Insulin sensitivity becomes lower than it should be at that time of day. The same meal requires more insulin to clear. Insulin stays elevated longer. The fat-burning resumption is delayed. A study published in the Journal of Biological Rhythms found the following. Natural light exposure in the post-meal window improved insulin sensitivity and glucose clearance, compared to remaining under artificial lighting after the same meal. Fix: get outside or near a window with natural light for at least part of the post-meal hour. Even 5 minutes of natural light after lunch improves the circadian calibration that determines how efficiently insulin clears. Stack it with the post-meal walk from thing 1. 5 minutes outside accomplishes 2 things simultaneously. Now, here is the thing that amplifies insulin from the inside, from your emotional state. Most people never see this coming. Thing number 5. Stress or conflict. In the hour after eating, you finish lunch and immediately open a difficult email. Or dinner ends and an argument begins. Or you check your phone and find something that spikes your anxiety. Here is the specific damage that stress does in the post-meal window. Cortisol and insulin interact after meals in a particularly damaging way. Cortisol temporarily increases insulin resistance. Your cells become less responsive to insulin signals. Insulin has to stay elevated longer to force the same glucose clearance. The insulin elevation extends. Fat storage extends with it. And cortisol simultaneously promotes fat storage in visceral fat cells through its own separate receptor pathway. You have both insulin and cortisol driving visceral fat storage at the same time, from the same meal, because of something that happened an hour after it. A study published in Psychosomatic Medicine found the following. Stress exposure in the post-meal window significantly increased insulin resistance and cortisol levels. Fat storage from the same meal was measurably greater compared to a calm post-meal period. The food was identical. The stress changed the outcome. Fix: protect the first 30 minutes after eating from high-stress situations. Do not schedule difficult conversations immediately after meals. Do not check stressful content in the first 30 minutes after eating. A brief buffer of calm between eating and re-engaging with demands meaningfully reduces the cortisol amplification of post-meal insulin. This is not about avoiding stress permanently. It is about not letting it arrive at the worst possible moment, when insulin is already doing its work and every amplifier makes it harder to fall. And now for the final thing. This one is the most common post-dinner mistake in the world. Thing number 6. Lying down or sleeping after eating dinner ends. You move to the couch, you recline. Maybe you fall asleep there. Or you get into bed within an hour of finishing. It feels like the natural end of the day. Here is what it is doing to the meal you just ate. Horizontal position slows gastric emptying significantly. Gravity normally assists the movement of food from your stomach toward your small intestine. When you lie down, that assistance disappears. Food sits in your stomach longer. Glucose enters your bloodstream over an extended period. Insulin stays elevated for longer. The overnight fat-burning window, which requires insulin to fall before growth hormone can release, is delayed. Not by minutes, sometimes by hours. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology found the following. A reclined position after meals significantly slowed gastric emptying. Post-meal insulin elevation was extended compared to an upright position after the same meal. Stay upright for at least 30 minutes after any meal, ideally 60 minutes. Sitting upright counts, standing counts, walking counts. Anything that keeps you vertical and maintains gravitational assistance for digestion. After 60 minutes of upright posture, lying down produces far less disruption to the insulin clearance process. The overnight fat-burning window can open on schedule. Tomorrow you eat 3 meals. 3 post-meal windows open. Each one 60 minutes. 180 minutes total. Right now, those 180 minutes are either working for your belly fat or against it. You have spent time thinking about what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat. But lean people are not dramatically different in any of those things. What is consistently different is what they do in the hour after they eat. They move, they hydrate, they find light, they protect that hour from stress. They stay upright. None of these are dramatic interventions. None of them require extra time in your day. They require the same 60 minutes you are already spending after every meal, just spent differently. Here is the challenge. After your next meal today, pick one thing from this list. Just one. And do the opposite of what you normally do. Do not wait a week to report back. Come back after one meal. That is how quickly this biology responds. One meal, one changed post-meal hour. You will feel the difference before the day is over. Which of these 6 was the most surprising to you, and which one are you doing wrong right now? Drop it in the comments. Be honest, I want to know where most people are starting from. If this changed how you think about the hour after you eat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. There is a video directly connected to this one. It covers the other critical 60-minute window of your day. The one that opens right after you wake up. That video is right here. See you there.